Bandeyam Shri Guru Shiyata Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Sya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Saganaraganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sabadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shivishikam Vitam Sya Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnanajana Shalakaya Chakshuru Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Gurva Bhistam Supurkam Gurganara Sisha Sambhushitam Chintya Chintya Samasta Veda Nipanam Shri Rupa Patanugam Govindabhidam Ujwalam Bharatanum Bhaktyan Viram Sundaram Bande Vishwa Gurun Shah Divyat Bhagavat Prem Noe Bijapranam Devam Divyatanum Suchandavananam Balar Kachelan Shitam Sandrananda Puram Sadekavaranam Vairagya Vidyamburim Sri Siddhanta Nidhim Subhakti Lasitam Saraswatanam Varam Vandetam Shubhanam Madhika Sharanam Nyashishvara Shiranam Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Namo Mahavaranyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gauratavishe Namah. So we're hearing from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, translation and commentary by Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupad. This is Madhya-lila, chapter 6, the liberation of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Okay, nice. So this is verse number 170. Parinama Bhad Vyasa Sutana Samata Achintya Shakti Ishwara Jagadrupe Parinata. The Vedanta Sutra aims at establishing that the cosmic manifestation has come into being by the transformation of the inconceivable potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So I was reading about that yesterday and in the class, and I was mentioning the what was the terms used? Sanskrit grammar terms, but I'm not really concerned about so much the formality of all the terms, but it basically, I'm just trying to remember what the words were. The first one means source, action, and destination, which is the idea of the source is what is being mentioned here. The Vedanta Sutra aims at establishing that the cosmic manifestation has come into being by the transformation of the inconceivable potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's the source. That's, if I can, I don't remember the terminology. What was somebody? Dina Bandhu, do you remember? Yeah, ablative, instrumental, and locative. So ablative is more or less referring here that the Vedanta Sutra aims at establishing the cosmic manifestation has come into being by the transformation of the inconceivable potency of the Lord. Manichachi avikrite prasabe hemabar jagadrupa hoy ishvara tabu abhikar. So the terminology here is a little, this is philosophical, and it goes, we're concluding now, a few more verses, a philosophical discussion, which is actually converting Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya from being an impersonalist to being a personalist, to believe that God is a person and he has a form. So it says here, Manijachi avikrite Prasabe Hemabar Jagadrupa Hoy Ishvara Tabu Avikar. And the nice thing is, after Sarvabhauma is converted, he's not only converted, he becomes a fanatic. So we kind of like fanatics. The touchstone, after touching iron, produces volumes of gold without being changed. Similarly, the Supreme Personality of Godhead manifests himself as the cosmic manifestation by his inconceivable potency, yet he remains unchanged in his eternal transcendental form. So, this is also my days of chemistry of God. But there's a term in chemistry that where a substance that has to be present for a reaction to take place, but that substance is not changed at all. The reaction only takes place because it's there, but it has no part in the reaction. So the example given here, we can say, is alchemic. What's dealing with alchemy, where a touchstone means, like a touchstone is something that transforms base metals into gold. And it can transform those metals into gold, but itself is not changed. It's not changed by in the process. So somebody could say, "Oh, that's mythology or something." All right, it's mythology. So, and I haven't got one of those stones to prove it to you anyway. So, but the alchemist stone, something like that. You can touch something like base metal and you can change it into gold. But in chemistry, without getting into changing into gold, there's it's something, I can't remember the term, but I know about that because I've done chemical reactions where you have to have certain chemical present for that reaction to take place, but it itself is not changed. And anybody who's a chemist knows about that. Forget. Vyasa Branta Bolise Sutre Doshadiya Vivartabad Stapi Jache Kalpana Korea. Shankaracharya's theory states that the absolute truth is transformed. By accepting this theory, the Mayavadi philosophers deny, the Mayavadi philosophers denigrate Srila Vyasadeva by accusing him of error. Thus, they find fault in the Vedanta Sutra and interpret it to try to establish the theory of illusion. So they say that that the absolute truth, for instance, when he does this, when he affects the material creation, or when he, by his glance, injects living entities into as souls into body, they say, Shankaracharya says that this is not actually a fact that the Lord is transformed by the process of the creation, and this is actually, you can't say that, because if you want to quote the Vedic literature, you have to accept that the Vedic literature is about one of the four defects of people. The four defects of people is: one, they're in illusion; two, that their senses are imperfect; three, they make mistakes; and four, they have the cheating propensity. That's just errors of human beings. But you cannot accept that about the Vedic literature, that is subject to error. Otherwise, why are you quoting the Vedic literature? It's like somebody quotes the Bible, but then they'll say, "Oh, the Bible is subject to error." Well, if you accept that as literature, don't talk about all the errors in it. You either accept it on the basis of faith or you don't accept it. But and somebody will say, "Well, then you're saying faith should be blind." No, I'm not saying faith is supposed to be blind. You're supposed to have some realization. That, in that respect, it's not blind. Either you have some realization or you don't. But if you don't have any realization, then maybe you'll say, "Well, then faith is blind." For you, it's blind, But for someone else, they can see, they have some realization. They can see the presence of divinity in every single grain of rice. There's a signature, or whatever, But to say that he's quoting the Vedas, Shankaracharya, but he's saying Vedavyasa is in error. Well, Vedavyasa is the compiler of the Vedic literature, so that's kind of a very bad argument. Jivara dehi atma buddhi se mitya hoy jagat je mitya nahe nashpara matra hoy. The theory of illusion can be applied only when the living entity identifies himself with the body. As far as the cosmic manifestation is concerned, then it cannot be called false, although it is certainly temporary. So what is the theory of illusion which is being discussed here by Mahaprabhu? The theory of illusion is that to consider that there's a Lord, that there's God, or that there's souls, that individual persons have souls. He's saying that's illusion because that means that Brahman, which is considered to be spirit, can be mutated. And he's saying that's illusion to think that Brahman can be mutated. But it's like we do not accept that explanation at all. Every child, prays, now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. So everybody will accept the idea that they can offer some kind of prayer to the Lord. And if you accept that the Lord has no personality, has no form, who are you praying to? Who are you praying to? Who's the object of your prayers? And some people will say, well, I'm an atheist. I don't believe in God. All right, then you don't enter into this discussion. We're not concerned about that. So, Pranamaje Mahabhakya Ishvara Murti Pranava Hoite Sarva Veda Jagat Utpati. The transcendental, and Shankaracharya is saying that spiritual substance cannot be transformed, so the idea of individuality is illusion. But Mahaprabhu says, no, that is not the illusion. The illusion is that you identify yourself as a body, as a person. Oh, I'm an American, I'm a man, I'm a woman, I'm this, I'm that, I'm a dog, I'm a tree. All that is false. It's false. It's illusion. The idea that you're not a spirit soul, that you're not a body, that you're not a spirit soul, that you're a body, that you're a person, that you have this identity, that's the illusion. The illusion is that you identify yourself with something that's temporary when you're an eternal existing spirit soul. So, okay, everybody does that. We don't have it's not a big problem, but, to say the illusion, Shankaracharya is saying the illusion is that you believe in individuality or you believe in personality. No, that's not illusion. The illusion is that you identify with yourself with something that you're not. Just if you said, I'm a microphone, then we would say, you're mad. You're mad. That's illusion. The illusion is that you identify yourself as a spirit soul, thinking falsely that you're a Venezuelan or a Mexican or a Hungarian or an American or, well, identifying yourself as an American may not be illusion. Okay. Pranava J Mahabhakya Ishwarer Murti Pranava Hoite Sarva Veda Jagat Utpati. A transcendental vibration, Omkara, is the sound form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. All Vedic knowledge and this cosmic manifestation are produced from this sound representation of the Supreme Lord. So what is Omkara? Om. People vibrate. Om. That's Omkara. The Omkara. The transcendental vibration of Omkara is the sound form of the Supreme Lord. All Vedic knowledge and this cosmic manifestation are produced from this sound representation of the Supreme Lord. Okay, so the Lord can be present as sound. we say the Lord can be present as, what is it? The four. Nam, Guna, Lila, Rupa. Nam, in his name, he's present. That's why people chant the Maha Mantra. Name. Nam, Guna, in his divine qualities. Nam, Guna, Lila, his pastimes. And Lila, Rupa, his divine form. So, Nam, Guna, Lila, Rupa. Tattvamasi, Jiva, Hetu, Pradeshika, Bhakya, Pranavana, Manitari, Kohe, Mahabhakya, the subsidiary vibration, Tattvamasi. You are the same is meant for the understanding of the living entity, but the principal vibration is Omkara. Not caring for Omkara, Shankaracharya has stressed the vibration, Tattvamasi. So what does Tattvamasi mean? Tattvamasi means that you're non-different from the Lord. But we can say that's only half the truth. That's only half the truth. We're Sat Chit Ananda. So we're eternal. Sat, Chit, we're conscious. And Sat Chit Ananda. And in our pure state of consciousness, we're happy. Sat Chit Ananda. Those are qualities that the living entity, souls, have. And the Lord also has those qualities. But the difference is, we have them in minute quantity, but the Lord has them in unlimited quality. Therefore, we are subjugated to the energy of the Lord. And sometimes we're an illusion. The Lord's not an illusion. But Shankaracharya gives importance to the saying Tattvamasi, that you are that Lord. You are the same as that Lord. But that's only half the truth. That you have the qualities of the Lord, but Mahaprabhu says Achintya Beta Beta Tattva means simultaneously one with, but at the same time different. So we have the qualities of the Lord, but we're all obviously different than the Lord. Just like the sun rays are different than the sun. If I go to the beach, I lie down, I can feel the sun rays on my back. But obviously, I don't have the sun on my back, because if I did, I would be burnt to ashes immediately. But so the sun rays have heat and light like the sun, but the quantity is very minute. So the subsidiary vibration, Tattvamasi, you are the same, is meant for the understanding of the living entity. But the principal vibration is Omkara. Not caring for Omkara, Shankaracharya has stressed the vibration Tattvamasi. So now we'll be finishing with the Mahaprabhu's explanation. We've been reading this for some time now. Emate kalpita bhashe shatadosha dila Bhattacharya purvapaka apara korila. Thus Mahaprabhu criticized Shankaracharya's Sharirag Bhashya as imaginary, and he pointed out hundreds of faults in it. To defend Shankaracharya, however, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya presented unlimited opposition. All kinds of opposition in the form of arguing, in the form of insulting, denigrating Mahaprabhu. He tried to use all kinds of false arguments against Mahaprabhu, like, you're very young, you're a child, what do you know, how can you say this? But Mahaprabhu is the Lord, he can say anything he wants. But Shankaracharya doesn't know who Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is. Vitanda Chala Nigrahari Aneka Utaila Sabakande Prabhu Nija Mata Se Stapila. The Bhattacharya presented various types of false arguments with pseudo-logic and tried to defeat his opponent in many ways. However, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu refuted all these arguments and established his own conviction. Bhagavad Sambandha Bhakti Abhideya Hoy Prema Prayojana Vede Tina Vastu Hoy. No. Bhagavan Sambandha Bhakti Abhideya Hoy Prema Prayojana Vede Tina Vastu Hoy. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continued, the Lord is the central point of all relationships. Acting in devotional service to Him is one's real occupation, and the attainment of love of Godhead is the ultimate goal of life. These three subject matters are described in the Vedic literature. That's called Sambandha, Abhideya, and Prayojana. Sambandha is your guru is supposed to acquaint you with what is the relationship with the Lord, what is the way of purely serving in that relationship, what is mixed devotional service, which means like Jnana Shunya Bhakti or also karma not Jnana Shunya, but what's the term? Karma Shunya Bhakti means bhakti free of material activities. So the term is Karma Mishra Bhakti and Jnana Mishra Bhakti. That means devotion that's been adulterated or mixed with karma, mundane activities, or gyan, mundane knowledge. So your guru is supposed to acquaint you with sambandha, means what is the nature of pure devotion, what is devotion mixed with karma and gyan, how different gradients of devotion. It's like if you get into a taxi, you have to give the taxi driver the address, where you're going. You have to know the address. So that's sambandha. You have to know where you're going first. Then comes abhideya. It means, okay, now you know the relation, then you have to enter into the process of engaging yourself. That's abhideya. And prayojana means the goal. The goal is to attain love of Godhead. Prema prayojana means the goal is love of Godhead. So this is what Mahaprabhu is saying. Here it mentions, let's see, in the verse. And it's many words here in the well, I can't criticize that. It's just a translation. Bhagavan Sambandha Bhakti Abhideya Hoy Prema Prayojana Bede Tina Bastu Koi means Bhagavan Sambandha, that the Lord exists and you have a relationship with Him, and knowing about how that is Sambandha, means relationship. Bhakti Abhideya Hoy means Abhideya, the process of serving the Lord. Bhakti Abhideya is devotion. And prema prayojana, Vede Teen Bastu Koi. Prema means that the goal is to attain prema, love of Godhead. So Mahaprabhu says these are the three goals presented in the Vedic literature. Mahaprabhu continued, the Lord is the central point of all relationships. Acting in devotional service to Him is one's real occupation, and the attainment of love of Godhead is the ultimate goal of life. These three subject matters are described in the Vedic literature. So that's what the Vedic literature is about. Arajeje kichu kohe sakala I kalpana svata pramana veda bhakti kalpana lakana. Does anybody have any cough drops? Nope. If one tries to explain the Vedic literature in a different way, he is indulging in imagination. Any interpretation of the self-evident Vedic version is simply imaginary. Somebody can say, well, do you believe all this? Yes, of course. Of course I believe it. Why wouldn't I believe it? Well, we're just asking. Acharjara dosha nahi Ishwara agya hoila ateva kalpana kori nashtika vastra koila. Actually, there is no fault on the part of Shankaracharya. He simply carried out the order of the Lord. He had to imagine some kind of interpretation, and therefore he presented a kind of Vedic literature that is full of atheism. And so this is what Mahaprabhu is alluding to which will be explained something in the next verse. I'm not going to describe all that. It's very long. But Shankaracharya is an incarnation of Lord Shiva. So here's something of the illusion of what's being presented. Svagamai Gopitaistvat Svagamai Kopitaistvam cha Janan Mad Vimukhan Guru Mam cha Gopaya Jena Shat Shristir Esho Tarotara. This verse is in Sanskrit. The other, I'm reading the original verses. I'm reading the transliteration, Sanskrit and Bengali. So, addressing Lord Shiva, the Lord said, "Please make the general populace averse to me by imagining your own interpretation of the Vedas. Also cover me in such a way that people will take more interest in advancing material civilization just to propagate a population bereft of spiritual knowledge or spiritual values." So that's what the Lord... And this goes to an explanation that the people were where they were misusing the Vedic knowledge for justifying animal sacrifices, eating meat and everything. So then Lord Buddha appeared. And when Buddha appeared, people said, well, he said, "I do not accept violence, I do not accept this animal killing," and then he presented nonviolence, and people said, "But these are mentioned in the Vedas." And then he said, "I don't care for the Vedas. I don't accept the Vedas. So Buddha's the Lord himself, but he rejected the Vedic literature because the Vedic literature was being misused. So he said, "I don't care for the Vedic literature," and he presented what is Nirvisesh Brahma, basically he said what is the terminology used in Buddhism is, Nirvana, everyone, okay. Which is basically almost the same as what Shankaracharya is saying. But he's saying everything is an imposition of the mind, that when the activities of the mind are stopped, then one attains liberation. But it's very close to what Shankaracharya is saying. He's saying everything is based on Nirvishesh Brahman, very much close to Buddhism. But the reason is, the Lord addresses Shiva and he says, "Please make the general populace averse to me by imagining your own interpretation of the Vedas. Also cover me in such a way that people will take more interest in advancing material civilization just to propagate a population bereft of spiritual knowledge." So this is a quotation from the Padma Purana. Padma Purana is ancient literature, but he's saying that you'll bring the persons closer to the Vedas. Buddha rejected the Vedas in order to be able to establish the purity of his teachings. Then Shankaracharya brings the people closer to the Vedas by presenting veiled Buddhism, but saying it in reference to terminology of the Vedas, like Nirvisesh Brahman. And then Mahaprabhu comes and he presents the philosophy of Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva, of simultaneously the living entity being like the Lord but different, which has there's an actual presentation of the Vedas. So anyway, this is the explanation. Then Mahaprabhu says, okay, Shankaracharya presents this, but he's actually an incarnation of Lord Shiva. And he's doing this out of the Lord ordered him. This is the purpose stated. Anyway, this, if people will say, you believe that? Yes, all right. So we'll go on. Mayavaram asatchastram prachanam bodham uchate mayaiva vihitam devi kalo brahmana murtina. Lord Shiva informed Goddess Durga, the superintendent in the material world, in the age of Kali, I take the form of a Brahman and explain the Vedas through false scriptures in an atheistic way, similar to Buddhist philosophy. So, of course, when if we meet with people who are Buddhists, they'll become angry. What? Okay. This is, Lord Shiva informed Goddess Durga, the superintendent of the material world. In the age of Kali, I take the form of a Brahmana, and explain the Vedas through false scriptures in an atheistic way similar to Buddhist philosophy. That's Shankaracharya. He is that person. Shuni Bhattacharya Hoila Parama Bismita Mukena Nisharebani Hoila Stambita. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya became very astonished upon hearing this. He became stunned and said nothing. Prabhu Kohe Bhattacharya Nakora Vishmoy Bhagavane Bhakti Parama Purushartha Hoy. Mahaprabhu then told him, do not be astonished. Actually, devotional service unto the Lord is the highest perfection of human activity. Atmarama Parjanta Kori Ishvara Bhajan Achya Chintya Bhagavaner Gunagan. Even the self-satisfied sages perform devotional service to the Supreme Lord. Such are the transcendental qualities of the Lord. They are full of inconceivable spiritual potency. Then Mahaprabhu is going to quote from a famous verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam about Atmarama, that even self-satisfied souls, even realized souls, still take part in devotional service. And it's like a verse from the Bhagavad Gita. It says, Brahma Bhuta Prashanatmana Shochatina Kankshati Samasarveshu Bhuteshu Mad Bhaktim Labate Param. Even a person who's on the level of Brahma Bhuta, is a self-realized soul, Brahma Bhuta Prashanatma, Nashochati Kankshati. And such a person is free from the Sochati Kankshati. He's free from lamentation and desire. Nashochati Kankshati. Normally people have a desire. Oh, I want. That's desire. Shochatina Kankshati. I want. And Shochati, lamentation. Oh, I lost the dream of my life, or something like this. Shochatina Kankshati. They have, any 17-year-old has been through that. He's lost the love of his life. Nashochatina Kankshati. Brahmabhuta Prashanatma Nashochatina Kankshati. Samasarveshu Bhuteshu. And such a person, Samasarveshu Bhuteshu, sees all living entities equally. Doesn't accept the terminology of friend and enemy. So, someone says, do you accept that terminology, friend and enemy? I say, yeah, I accept it, friend and enemy, but not very much. I don't really. Well, why not so much? Because I'm going to die eventually. What do I care? Friend or enemy. There's no lamentation or no desire. Mad Bhaktim Labate Param. From that platform of realization, Mad Bhaktim Labate Param, from that platform of realization, devotion or bhakti begins. Brahmabhuta Prashanatma Nashochati Nakankshati Samasarveshu Bhuteshu Mad Bhaktim Labate Param. When you're on that level of realization, then you can actually begin. Mad Bhaktim Labate Param. That means devotion to me can begin. But here, the same thing is said in this verse that Mahaprabhu is quoting. I'll say the verse now. Atmaramas chamunayo nirgranta apiyarukrame kurvanti ahaitukim bhaktim itambuta guno hari. Those who are self-satisfied and unattracted by external material desires are also attracted to the loving service of Sri Krishna, whose qualities are transcendental and whose activities are wonderful. Hari, the personality of Godhead, is called Krishna because he has such transcendentally attractive features. And that's what the name Krishna means. Someone who attracts everyone is attractive. That's the nature of the Lord. But, okay, so, So those who are self-satisfied and unattracted by external material desires means they're realized. are also attracted to the loving service of Sri Krishna, whose qualities are transcendental and whose activities are wonderful. Hari is called Krishna because he has such attractive features. That's what the name Krishna means. But anyway, Mahaprabhu is quoting this verse from the Bhagavatam. Now to get some kind of, this we'll go into tomorrow, to get some kind of self-esteem back, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya says to Mahaprabhu, oh, I also like the Srimad Bhagavatam. Like he's trying to say, oh yeah, I can also like that. Could you please explain this verse? And then Mahaprabhu will say, you explain it first. And he explains it, what is it, 9 different ways or something? And then Mahaprabhu, and then he says in a kind of, what's the word, in condescending way, says to Mahaprabhu, now if you would like to explain something, you can. I was with a person, he invited me to some program. And he spoke for 2 hours. Then he said, now you can explain something if you like. And I'm like, after 2 hours hearing you just spout so much hot air, you want me to speak something? All right. But I spoke 5 or 10 minutes because people are already tired of hearing enough of this. So, so he explains 9 different ways and then says to Mahaprabhu, now you can say something if you like. Then Mahaprabhu explains 14 different ways, omitting any of the explanations of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. That leaves him dumbfounded. So we're going to deal with that tomorrow. But anyway, Shuni Bhattacharya kohe shuna mahashoy, e shlokar artha shunite banchohoy. After hearing the Atmarama verse, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya addressed Mahaprabhu, my dear sir, please explain this verse. I have a great desire to hear your explanation of it. Prabhu kohe tumi ki artha kora taha age shuni. Prabhu kohe tumi ki artha kora taha age shuni pachayami koriba artha jeba kichujani. The Lord said, first let me hear your explanation. After that, I shall try to explain what little I know. So tomorrow we'll read that. But this is a way of dealing with argument. If somebody says, well, you begin your explanation. You just say, no, I would first like to hear from you. Then if you hear from the person, then you can deal with all the errors in their thinking or logic. You don't just start speaking. You ask, no, let me hear you explain. Then they explain, then you can understand where they're coming from. Like I remember one devotee, he spoke for 40 minutes explaining something, and then he said, so what do you think? And the person said, this was the person's comment. He says, well, I think that dolphins are more intelligent than people. And it's like, why you waste your time speaking to somebody if their whole presentation is, I think dolphins are more intelligent than people. First ask the person to say what they think. Don't just. So anyway, that's something of the logic, and Guru Maharaj would do that. He would say, first you present your presentation, you give your presentation, then we'll talk. Okay, so tomorrow we'll continue. And I have a Zoom meeting with England. Although most of people in the Zoom meeting are not from England, they just tune in. People from England are there, but there's also Krishna Chaitanya. He's in Ukraine. There's what's her name? Saraswati's sister. Her Krishna Mohini. She's in Spain. Some people are from Russia. There's Rasa Raj, she's in New York. And there are all these people, and it's supposedly a Zoom class for England. English devotees are there, but half the time you can wind up speaking Spanish. So, go on now. Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Jadavaya Nama. Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Jadavaya Nama. Jadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Nama. Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan. Giridhari Gopinatha Marana Mohan. Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Chandra. Garadhara Shiva Sari Gora Bhaktivedanta. Gopala Bhattacharya Echai Gosai Kori Charana Bandhan. Jaite Vijnana Shabishta Puran. Echai Gosai Jar Muitaradas. Panchabar Pada Renu Mora Panchagras. Paner Chanana Sevi Bhakta Sanibas. Janame more abilan. Echai Gosai Jabe Braje Koilabas. Radha Krishna Nitya-lila Korila Prakash. Anande Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindavan. Shri Guru Vaishnava Pade Majayaman. Shri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Glorias. Padma Harinam Sankirtana Kohe Naradam Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitya Gora Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo. Hari Bo. Jai Saparikara Shri Shri Guru Guranga Gandharvika Giridhari Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Tilak Nehru Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Nirmalacharya Maharaj ki jai. Jai Bhagavan, Jai Om Vishnupad, Paramahansa Parabhajakacharya, Statara Sadashi Srimad, Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Jai Om Vishnupad, Paramahansa Parabhajakacharya, Statara Sadashi Srimad, Srila Bhakti Rakha Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Jai Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur ki jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Satchidananda Bhaktivedanta Thakur ki jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Rupanuga Guru Bharga ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Shri Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopal Bhattacharya Raghunath Shad Goswami Prabhu ki jai. Prem se go Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Shri Gaura Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Vishvavaranya Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Kusham Ashram Maharaj ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Shri Navadip Dham ki jai. Shri Namaya Kapur ki jai. Saparshada Shri Nityananda Prabhu ki jai. Saparshada Shriman Mahaprabhu ki jai. Shri Kuladvik ki jai. Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat ki jai. Soquel Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Seva Ashram ki jai. Ganga Devi ki jai. Tulasi Maharani ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Go Gopi Govardhan Shyam Kunda Radha Kunda Kalindi Yamuna Jo ki jai. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Prabhu ki jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. All the assembled devotees ki jai. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol.